Hey guys, before we start the video, I just wanted to put this video into context. This was made approximately 2016-2017. There are a few mistakes that I made in this video that I'm aware of, and you can comment on them if you like, I don't care. The process that I took in this video is not necessarily the way I do it today. A lot of the stuff that I do today, this is 8-10 years ago, my process has completely changed. So everything that I do now is very different from when I did it that long ago. That's the whole process of doing this stuff. And if you want to get better at this stuff, you strive to improve your work and improve your knowledge base and get better at what you're doing. So this is just a good look back on how I used to do things several years ago. And it does give you a good idea of the process that it does take to put this all together. So again, if you want to comment below, I don't care. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Comment on whatever you want, but watch the video and I hope you get something out of it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know and I will answer them best I can. So enjoy. Alright guys, so welcome back. Here's part 2 of the AR-15 barrel build. And what I'm going to do today is we got to put on the gas block for this guy. So this is kind of what I have right now. So this is a heavy wall DPMS upper that it's one I had for another project, but I'm going to use it with this barrel because it's what I have. Here's a rifle length gas forearm tube, not a gas port, but so this barrel that we have is approximately, so it's a lighter, like a sporter weight barrel, and I think it's, what is it, 650 at the end, so it's approximately like a number 4 Douglas contour. And that actually, so it's 650 thousandths from the muzzle all the way back to where our gas block is going to be. And we need to cut that down to approximately 625 thousandths because here's our gas block I got. And the gas block I got is a double star with a Picatinny rail on it. It's nothing special. I'll give some shots of it, but it was the cheapest in stock one available that I could find from Brownell. So it was like 28 bucks with free shipping. They had a deal going on. But anyways, I'll get a little better measurement of this, but just with my calipers, it's 631 thousandths, which is, I suppose they need a little room to put that guy on there. But so we're gonna machine our barrel down from the muzzle all the way back to where this gas block is gonna go, that 630 thousandths or whatever. All right, so here is my double star gas block. So it's, like I said, it was the most inexpensive one I could find. And it's just, I believe it's aluminum, and it's a little tricky. I didn't realize it's got 4 set screws on the bottom instead of just 2 or 3 right at 90 degrees to the gas port. But so this is a 625 thousandths gas block to fit over this smaller barrel. And then we also have, this is going to be a rifle length gas system. So this is a rifle length gas tube that'll go in there. So being that this is going to be a rifle length gas system, we're going to have to, from our muzzle all the way back to the back side of the gas block, so the gas block is going to end up sitting right in here. So this is going to be 12.125 inches, and everything, to the best of my knowledge, this is the number that I could find. I did find a print somewhere, and this one number, of course, is the one I couldn't find, or was blurred out. It was either a 7 or a 2, but I'm pretty sure it's a 2. So, and this number is referenced in several other places, so pretty sure that's correct. Other guys say, 6 point some odd inches back from the muzzle end. Well, you kind of got to go off your gas tube. So these gas tubes on these rifle length gas systems are approximately 15.25 inches, maybe a tad bit more, 15 3/16 or so. And it goes into this gas block about 1 inch, and it goes into your receiver about 1 inch, so that leaves you, little wiggle room in there, I guess. So we got our 12.125, so that's from the front side of the barrel extension to the back side of our gas block, so that's going to be the shoulder for our gas block. And then we're going to have to machine our barrel. I'm going to start out at 630 thousandths. I mic'd this gas block with some inside telescoping gauges, and I got 628 and a half, 628 and a half thousandths on the inside diameter of this gas block. So I'm going to start at 630 and work my way down. If I got to cut off a thousandths and a half, I'd rather have this a nice tight snug fitting than have it loose and wiggle around, which most of them probably are, and it would work. But if we can get this guy as tight on there as we can, that would be ideal situation. Alright, so just to give a little perspective, I've got a complete upper assembly here with the gas tube installed, and I don't know, this is a carbine length or whatever it is. It really doesn't matter, but what matters is how long this gas port is sticking out up here. So to kind of double check our measurements, after we install the gas tube in the gas block, you're left with about 14.25 inches approximately from where you're going to be. And this is pretty dang close. I'm just kind of, I mean, this is not for measurement purposes, it's just an example, but as you can see here, the end of this gas port lines up approximately in the center of this little recessed cut here. And if we look on ours, I'm holding our tape approximately where it's going to be, and it's pretty damn close. So I feel pretty good about that 12.125 measurement. Like I said, this is just to give you a little visual of where it's going to end up. Alright, just a couple of housekeeping issues. I didn't cover last time torquing this thing down. They make special barrel wrenches that go in the end of these, which I'd recommend buying one if you plan on doing more than one. And I will probably buy one here in the future. But I actually made a wrench here, and I have a barrel vise. So I clamped my barrel vise on here, and then I put this on the end here, and then I got a square hole there. I torqued it on. They recommend torquing these down to about 120 foot-pounds. I got it just over 100. I think it was 105 or 110. So that's pretty damn tight. Ideally 120. And then you can these, just a pin, just an indicator pin. I've seen some guys like dimple the threads, but most AR-15 manufacturers, all that is a locating pin. Torquing that extension on there to 120 foot-pounds should be more than enough to hold that thing in place. If it comes unscrewed, you didn't get it tight enough. So this pin its main purpose is to locate this barrel and index it into your upper receiver, so your gas block and everything else is indicated. So some guys dimple them, like I said, into the threads, but you don't really need to. You can buy these little pins from Brownells or Midway, and you just I don't know about Midway, but Brownells, and you just press it in there. So that's that. And then also here I did get a go gauge, a 223 go gauge, and I double checked my headspace, and I was spot on. And these are like 25 bucks, I think, from Brownells. This is a Forester. If you just want to buy the go gauge, you can get away with it. It's a little easier to do on bolt action rifles because the way you can test this is you test the go gauge as a go gauge. So this should slip in, and your bolt should just close on this guy with a tiny bit of pressure, but it should still close freely. And then if you add just a single layer of cellophane tape or like desk tape on the back of here, that should add 3/1000ths. So when you add that single layer tape on there, your bolt should not close on this guy, and it basically turns it into a no-go gauge. So just letting everybody know, I did check it and I was spot on, so we're good to go with the chamber, good to go with the barrel extension, got our pin. So now let's bring this thing over to lathe, set it up, and we'll try and turn out this gas block. I thought about how to get this guy in my lathe and all the operations that I have to do to get this gas block turned out, and this was the best way I could come up with today. I mean, I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but I think this is going to work out great for today. What I did was I have my collet set up in my lathe, and that barrel extension on there is, depending on if you get a custom one, they're 998, 999 thousandths. Bat Machine makes custom ones. You can get them $9.99 or exactly 1 inch. But this is just a 1 inch collet. It clamps nicely on the outside, the indexing surface of the barrel extension. And then if you really wanted to, I mean, you could dial this in, but theoretically that should be zeroed because everything else over here should be pretty damn close. So I'm not too worried about this. And all this is, this gas block, you know, we want it to be as good as we can, but you know, this barrel, especially being an old Remington barrel, it could have a little bit of bend and twang and whatever you want to call in it. So this thing might not be straight, so we're going to do the best we can with this barrel to try and keep it as concentric as we can. The next thing I'm going to do is kind of for my own sanity. What I have here, and I'll zoom in a second here, is a PTG, let me think, 60 degree cone reamer. So what this will do is this will cut a new center so our live center can ride pretty much, you know, within a few 10,000ths concentric to the bore. This is a piloted bushing on here, and I have it sitting on a free floating, kind of free floating. I don't really like this reamer holder, but it works okay. I have just a 60 degree point in this floating reamer holder. Let me look a little closer here. 60 degree crowning reamer, I guess they call it. You could use it as a crowning, but I don't know who would want to ever do that. Anyways, so this is that floating reamer holder, which I kind of not a big fan of, but it works. And I have a 60 degree, let me back this out, just a point on there, and that's going to ride in the back of there, and that'll give it quite a bit more freedom of movement versus if I could just clamp it in here, but this will give it quite a bit more freedom of movement. And then what I'm going to do, because this isn't going to take very much pressure to do this, I got this tiny little cute little guy made in the USA. And you could use an actual wrench. I might actually have one here. See, I'd need I think it's a 3/8 or something like that. But so I'm just going to hold that guy right there, and we're going to put a new little center in the front there, and then we'll ride on there. So theoretically that'll give us a little better, because I don't know what this original crown was. Who knows what they did with that? Who knows what kind of shape it's in? You know, doing this just kind of gives us a little peace of mind. Alright, so as you can see, this thing's going to wobble around quite a bit, but I mean the barrel is clamped in the lathe, so it's about as wobbly as it would be on your AR. So and I'm not going to take a very big cut with this. Like I said, this is more of for me than anything else. So again, here's some Viper's Venom in my sweet bottle. So I'm just going to take a light little cut with this guy, and then we'll continue on. See, it's moving around quite a bit, but that's okay. Quick so we're not riding on it. Let it sit on there and ride on there. So let's take that out and see what it looks like. Yeah, and we got a little chatter in there, but that's okay. So is that necessary? No, not necessarily. But now what it's going to do is I can make sure that's clean, and we're going to recrown this anyway, so this isn't a big deal. There we go. So now we should be lined up, and we can see how true this guy's running. Should be running fairly true for a Remington barrel. So we got a little bit of run out. And then out here we got quite a bit of run out here, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is, and we'll deal with it. So we got a starting point here to start cutting. Now that we have this guy set up comes the interesting part. I don't have a 12+ inch caliper or any sort of a, I can't think, any sort of an accurate measuring way to do a 12.125 inches. So the next best thing is what I'm going to try is I got 2 calipers here. Here's a Starrett, and this is cranked out to 6 inches, and here's a, you know, Harbor Freight, does the job deal. So I'm going to butt up against here. This is absolute, like, what the hell's he doing? So that gives us pretty frickin' close to 6.125. I'm just scribing a mark on there so I can see. So if I come up with a better way to do this, I'll figure it out, but there's my little mark right now. And I did one earlier, if I can see it. There it is right there. So I'm pretty damn close. If I had a DRO, of course, I could just touch off here and crank right over, and that would give me a, that would be way too easy. But why not do it the hard way? So now what our job is, we got to cut from here all the way to here, 630 thousandths we're going to start at. And I might need to put a follower on here. I'm going to try it without, and we'll see how it goes. I'm sure when I get out here it'll start to chatter, so if we start to chatter, I'll put a steady on here, or a follower. And then the next thing we gotta do is just see where we're starting out at. I think it was 650 or 655, something like that. 660, 659. So I'll start out taking, you know, 25 thousandths off and work my way down and make sure my thing isn't cutting a taper, because if my lathe is cutting a taper, that'll kind of, it'll be okay. But if it is cut, if your lathe is cutting taper, you want your taper to be tapered out here and not here. So you want it thicker here and thinner here. So just be aware of that. I've double checked my lathe, so hopefully across about a foot here I can get a straight cut. But if you are cutting a taper, you want to make sure that your spot where your gas block is mounting is going to be as spot on, symmetrical as you can. So let's try and cut this and see how much chatter we get. Stop here and double check my mark and make sure I where I want to go. So it's going, I got it at a pretty slow feed rate. I think I'm at 3 thousandths per rev. Well, that shows you how bad out around these Remingtons are. I changed my mind. I ended up using a steady rest here instead of a follower. We're pretty much running all the way around here by the time we got to basically where our gas block is. So our gas block is about 2 inches long, so I'm going to leave about a 2-inch spot there. I'm going to turn this actually down because I got a little bit of chatter in there. I'm going to turn it down to approximately 620 thousandths up to here, so we'll get a nice straight chunk of barrel there, and then I'll switch this steady over to here or wherever, and then we can finish cut our gas block area. So I just end overed this barrel. So now my muzzle end is over here and my barrel extension is here, and this, I'm just riding on a live center. And then we just got our barrel chucked up in a collet. I mean, being that we basically, it's not probably not concentric with the bore, but we have a nice bearing surface here. Now I can get really close to the headstock and I can start cutting and actually get that damn thing cut without getting all that chatter. Alright, so there it is, all put together with what I'm going to test it out with. Gas block fits on there pretty well, actually. And I just got a couple set screws here to set it in place, so we can check it out, but this isn't attached either, so. But you can see it, a little bit of wobble out here, but you get in here and just barely, maybe a thousandths under, not even a thousandths, maybe half a thousandths under. But I did notice one thing when I'm up against the back here, I'm pretty tight up against my tube here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll just stick this thing on the mill and I'll mill a 45 back, because I don't need all this thing, so I can just, or I can even, yeah, I'll just mill a 45 straight across the back here to match this one. And then if this barrel flexes at all, which you can see it moves a little bit, and it'll whip around when it's shooting, that won't be hitting up against my hand guard. So alright, so it fits. So the next step is we're gonna have to drill the hole for the gas port, and then I'm gonna figure out, I'm gonna sleep on this overnight because I think it's about, I don't even know what time it is, midnight or 1 a.m. Usually you dimple these things, or you can dimple them on the barrel to kind of index them. And there is one hole here that is drilled and tapped, and it's probably the one they, well, it is the one they use to drill the actual gas port out with. So I'm thinking the easiest thing for indexing this thing would be to get a set screw in there and dimple this one, so that'll set it, and then these will just clamp it in place. That one little set screw should be enough to hold it in place to dimple into the barrel. You probably really don't even need it, but we'll do it anyways. The next step here is to drill our port for our gas block. So what I have here is, I have an indexer. Most people probably don't have an indexer, so I can spin this guy around. If you don't have an indexer, you can clamp it in your vise, and you can use something like this. This is a 5C collet block. This is for my lathe, but you can chuck your barrel up in this collet, and then that gives you 4 nice perfectly flat surfaces to go off of. Or alternatively, and this is probably the easiest way for most people, is just level off the top of this after you got this screwed on to your barrel. So if you have a nice machinist's level, simply stick that guy right there. And we'll see, I gotta adjust mine a little bit yet, but I'll adjust it a little bit here and then I'll show you. You probably can't see it too well there, but I have my bubble perfectly centered up there. You want to make sure that your level and your scope base is clean here. I'm going to tighten it up a little and see what it does. and you're going to have a tiny little bit of play in your pin there, but it should come back to the same spot every time. So there we go, that's pretty damn close. Make sure everything's clean, double check it. So I'm going to call that good. So that's going to get this perfectly level, and then we will drill our port top dead center where it needs to go, and then we can 180 it and it should be spot on. We need to make sure that we have our port in the right. First step we're going to do here is we're going to center our barrel up. So get an edge finder. If I'm not going to go out to do this, I'm just going to whiz through this stuff. We're going to find an edge on one side. We know our barrel diameter, so we can cut it in half plus 100 thousandths, because this is a 200 thousandths center finder. Then that'll find a center this way, and then I'm going to touch off on my little shoulder back here, and then we're going to measure forward 295 thousandths. Everything I've read for specs, it's 295 thousandths, and I measured my block here too, and that's pretty close to 295 thousandths. Doesn't show up in the camera, but it's pretty much, it's, to my eye, it's in the center of that hole, which is the center of the gas port. So we're going to speed through this. I'll find center and then find our depth. Watch and enjoy. So now we should be top dead center, right over our gas port hole. I'm going to center drill first. The very edge of the cutting tip here is 81 thousandths, so that'll give us a pretty good pilot hole. And then we can go in approximately 250 thousandths depth. Deep enough, but we won't be deep enough to cut through the other side. So we'll spot just a tiny little spot there and see, take a quick measurement, see where we're at. Alright, we'll just double check here with I mean, it should be spot on, but yep, right on the money. So that'll be good. So now we can drill all the way through. I'm just going to check down the, looks like it's centered up pretty good there, so we can drill all the way through with that guy. So that's as deep as my pilot will cut without cutting the chamfer here. So now I'll switch over to a smaller drill bit just to make sure. Actually, I'm going to switch over to this. So I don't have a reamer for this guy. I can order one, but I have a an 86 thousandths reamer. And for this particular barrel with a 625 diameter barrel and 20-inch length, they go, everything I've read, all my references I could find were anywhere from 86 to 93 thousandths. So I'm gonna, I could always cut more out later, so I'm just gonna go on the short end of that. I have 78 thousandths reamers and 78 and a half and 96 and a half thousandths reamers, but I don't have anything in between, unfortunately. So we'll cut on the small end here, and if we're not cycling properly, we don't have enough pressure with our gas system, we can always come back and order. I'd probably go with an 89 thousandths reamer. That's actually what I want. I'd like an 89 thousandths reamer on here, but we'll start here and see what we get. So I'm gonna stop this here, and I'm gonna set my depth stop to 250 thousandths so I don't go deeper than that, because that'll, like I said before, that'll get us through the one side of the barrel, but it won't cause us to go through the other side. and I could feel that just plop right through there at the very end. So there is our 86 thousandths. If I had a little wobble in there, possibly 87, but that should be pretty close. So now the next step is we wanted to dimple that backside for this guy, because we're gonna, on the back of our gas block, I'm gonna use this one as a dimpling. So this is already set up. I mean, we're already centered and we're in the center, and I got my indexer set up at 90 degrees here, hopefully. And so we'll spin it around 180 degrees. There's 90, there's 180. Lock it down, and then I'm gonna come over here and just double check on the bottom of my receiver that I'm level. It's actually almost spot on, so that's good. So it tells me that we went around 180 degrees. So now we have to figure out, we got a set screw here, so I'm gonna stop, figure out what size screw this takes, because it's not, doesn't have one. It's probably just the same as all these others here. 170 thousandths. So I'm gonna find a drill bit, and I'll center drill it, and then we'll drill a little dimple. All right, I found a, what is it, 5/32 drill bit, and that should be good enough to give us a little dimple. And we are just going to center drill a little here and then drill it. Don't need very much. Just like that. I'll give you a little close-up shot here. So there it is. I mean, there's not, probably even a little deeper than I needed to go, but it's just a, you know, that set screw just needs a spot to sit in. So that's that. Now we can put everything together. I got it all reassembled here, and it turned out pretty good. I mean, it's not completely assembled yet. We still got a few things to do on it yet, but I mean, for all intensive purposes, this project is done. And of course, like true manufacturer's fashion, they have a fine threaded set screw here that I don't have. I have the coarse one, but I don't have a fine one, so I just stole one from up here. So this is just demonstrating that it's on there straight, it's where it's supposed to be. Our dimpling lined up, we're tight against the shoulder there. Our length is good. And everything ended up where it's supposed to be. I don't know if you can't really see there, but our little thing lined up, it's a bad angle for you guys, but it lined up pretty much in the center there, which is good. Alright, so that's it. I mean, there's not much to these. Like I said, the tricky thing is drilling this guy, and as long as you have the receiver, you should be able to level from the top if you have a flat top, or even the bottom on pretty much all receivers. Flat tops make it a little easier to go off the top, but and then if you have a collet block, like a C5 collet block for your mill, that just makes it that much simpler. You line it up once, you flip it over in your mill, and then you drill the backside for a dimple. So it's pretty simple. I mean, there's not, you know, chambering it, that's probably the most intensive part, making sure all your measurements are correct here. And I ended up with kind of a thin profile barrel, which is fine. It's not, I like heavy barrels. I like really heavy barrels. I don't know if you guys probably haven't seen most of my stuff, but it's all number 5 or heavier, light varmint, 1 1/4 inch straight taper, or straight 1 1/4 inch stuff. So this is probably one of the lightest barrels I have right now, and it's 622, 623 at the muzzle there. Alright, the very last thing that I need to do with this, and I'm not going to show it because you guys have seen me do a bunch of this stuff already, I got to recrown it, so we got to take it all apart and stick it back in the lathe, indicate the muzzle, crown it, whatever crown is your flavor, slap one of them guys on there. And then I need to put some sort of a finish on here. I'm not sure yet because it's a chromoly barrel. I might just put some sort of a Cerakote or something on there for ease. But I also have bluing tanks, so it's a possibility that I could bead blast this guy or sandblast it, and then dunk it in a hot blue. I don't think I have any parkerizing solution, but I've got another rifle I want to blue too, so I might hot blue this guy with a bead blast finish, which gives you a, basically a matte finish like that. The other thing I could do, and I'm not sure I'm going to do it yet, is put a muzzle brake on here. This barrel profile is getting a little thin for a muzzle brake, but you could still fit one on there. You could fit a half 28 on here still. It'd be a tight fit. I mean, we have enough, we have plenty of barrel left there, but I don't know if I want to do it yet. I might, just for the hell of it. Alright, so what I have into this project, considering that you would probably be, if you were going to go buy a barrel, you would probably have everything you need. So you'd have, your receiver, your gas tube, your gas block. So I'm not going to consider that. The barrel extension I said was $15 or $20 from Brownells. This barrel was free for me. And then the only other thing you need is, if you have the tools, you need the tools to put this together. And then you need a go gauge and a chamber reamer. And you can rent those from places like 40reamerrentals.com, and there's one or two other people. You can rent a reamer and a set of go-no-go gauges for, I think it's less than $40. It's like $38. And as long as you're prepared to do it, I think they give you like 3 days to do it. So you get the reamer, you got 3 days to chamber, headspace your barrel, and then send that back in the mail to them. And as long as you don't destroy their equipment, they will not charge you a $100 deposit, and they will just charge you the $35 or $40 for whatever option you choose. So realistically, I mean, I had the reamer, I bought this, this was $25. I bought that barrel extension, let's say $20. So I got less than $50 into this barrel, not including my time. And you can actually, you can't buy this long a barrel, but you can buy a pretty decent barrel from just about anywhere online for less than $100. So it's more of a exercise in doing it than like saving money, because you're probably not going to save money doing this. It's just for the hell of it. The other thing you should probably do is, we still have our 223 Remington stamp on here from the original barrel. I'm probably going to go out here and stamp 223 Remington, because that's what our chamber is. One of these days I'm going to get a little CNC mill, and then I could mill a fancy 223 in there, but that's yet to happen. I figure I better at least put the thing together and show you what it looks like. This isn't, one of these days I'm going to get one of those nice Magpul PRS stocks for this thing. And I'm also going to do a 6.5 Grendel heavy barrel with this setup in the Magpul PRS stock. So this is kind of just a, I had this upper sitting around, I had the hand guard sitting around, and I thought I had this barrel, and just an exercise in doing it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any suggestions or comments, please let me know. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know. I am available to answer just about anything I am able to. So until next time, stay safe on your machines and shoot safe. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.